Orsini, Commissioner Pat Seville, Commissioner Benny Panala, Commissioner Tony Gamatauto, and excused absence is Commissioner Joe Meno. Certification of public notice requirements. It was posted on the Guam Daily Post and the Guam Public Notice website on January 2nd and January 6th. Item 3, approval of agenda. Everybody has a copy of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as submitted? Okay, moved by Commissioner Panala. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gamatauto. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Approval of minutes. The minutes of December 20th regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes subject to corrections? Moved by Commissioner Tony Gamatauto. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Orsini. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion passes. Moving to item 5, correspondence. Maria?
The budget call came out in December. We have the budget in front of you. We are asking for $2.9 million. The increase has to do a lot with the retirement rate. It went from 28 and 24 to 32 to 34 in fiscal year 26. I think the biggest is the medical and dental rates. It went up like the for class 4, it went from like I think 10,000 to 21,000, and I believe it's because of the self-insurance. I don't know. So we're looking to ask for 2.9 million.
What was the previous budget amount? Past fiscal year?
The past fiscal year in 25, 2.8 million.
2.8.
Yeah. We asked for 2.8 in 24. We didn't get all of it. We asked, and then we had to go back for a supplemental, and they gave it to us. In 25 for this year, they gave us everything we asked for.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the commissioners? Okay.
I need to get approval. We need to submit it by January 31st to the legislature with a courtesy copy to the governor.
So you need the approval tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the budget request.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Orsini to approve the fiscal 2026 budget request as submitted. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Commissioner Tony Gamatauto. Any further discussion on the motion? So primarily it's we're asking for more from the previous fiscal year due to the increase in primarily the insurance rate. So the government absorbed the increase to those insurance rates. No further discussions. So we'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 budget request, say aye.
Mr. Chair.
Oppose?
Sorry, can I amend that? Just in speaking with the executive director, she was mentioning some flexibility to either increase it by 10% or reduce it by 10% in the event there's something that comes up like
normally what we would do is give the executive director a 10% discretionary
right.
authority over the budget, so that in case anything happens, she has the ability to respond.
Okay, so the motion is amended to allow at least up to 10% discretionary authority to the executive director, up or down. Okay. All those in favor of that amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, motion passes. Executive director's report. Timeline.
So the timeline appears on, starts to appear on page 10. I'd like to mention as part of the timeline, it's not there yet, but the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, there are 4 commissioners, and we received a note saying that they'll be visiting Guam and CNMI come March 17th through the 21st. And that's a big deal because this, and we will be also hosting the region of territories. So it'll be Puerto Rico, American Samoa, Virgin Islands, Guam, and CNMI. And I've also gotten permission to invite our neighboring islands, island nations. They'll have to they'll have to pay their way. EAC will pay for all the expenses for the
territories.
territories to come here.
And hosting, what are the details of hosting?
They're going to pick up the, so I'm going to, if with your approval, I hope to attend a meeting of the National Association of State Election Directors come beginning of February, and I'm going to set up a meeting with EAC to get some more details as to the requirements of the EAC. Also in the timeline, we're ready to purge. We're ready to send out the names, and we publish quickly, or we mentioned on one of the radio talk shows that we were purging 21,000. It's not 21,000. There was a problem with the coding, and so we doubled or duplicated the 22 felt to vote lists. So it's now 11,930. And what's refreshing for the staff and me is that of those that we were going to purge, already 132 of those already re-registered. So their names will be taken off. We're going to send out their letters on the 18th, the ones we're going to purge, which is a requirement by law. And then we're going to publish their names, which is going to be a hefty sum.
Yeah, so it's 11,000
Yes,
plus names, not 20-some thousand.
correct.
Mrs. Just
Yeah.
one, going back to the, what's called that,
Yes,
meeting?
yeah.
Where are we gonna hold that at? Do we have a place already, or?
No, so that, when I go to DC, they're picking up the tab, and so part of the meeting, we've requested the commissioner, the territories and I have requested for workshops on financial audit requirements and grants management. So the Inspector General will join us from EAC, and the grants people will also join us. So we'll probably have it at one of the hotels.
Remember looking at the
So you work with that?
Yes.
U.S. territories in other jurisdiction coming here for that.
Mhm.
Okay, any further questions? Yes, Commissioner Singh?
Maria, how much do you project the ad in the paper to announce the purging of the individuals?
You ready, girl? $12,000. Just for the
And
ad.
that's like that'll be like
Yeah,
a property tax,
Ricky. And it's 9-point font, which is small.
that's gonna be like the property tax handout.
So I recommend when Maria meets with our oversight chair, I mean, it seems that, we do our due diligence and we already send a letter to these individuals. It seems like a duplicate or redundant process to also publish in the paper, which is very costly. If Maria can bring that up to our oversight chair and explain to her that we already directly write to them, that would help us save some cost.
Is that budgeted?
Yes, yes, sir.
We're required by law to publish it
Twice.
twice.
Once before we purge and the second time after we purge.
So twice we have to announce it in the
Yeah.
paper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that total cost is 12,000, or is it 12,000 for each?
Each.
So you're looking at,
You can buy that's
25.
expensive.
yeah, that's 24.
That's what we go through every odd year.
By the law.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's
I
just that
think-
this is the most that we've purged, right?
Yes, I think so. The other thing that we want to mention, for the general election, we had major calls on why we have a roster inside the polling place, outside the polling room, with our voters' information. We have the voter's name,
Address.
address, date of birth. So that's something that I think one of the media folks brought up to already the senator. But we will put a comprehensive list of recommendations in the e-card that's due to them June 30th this year. But with Senator Tello as our oversight, and she already beat me and asked me to come here to meet with her tomorrow at 2 o'clock, we will show her the 22 election comparative analysis reports with all the recommendations that we had there.
Is that required by law for us to have the voter listing outside? In a polling place?
Hungan. It is. And it's exactly the same as the signature roster, except no signature.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, the only thing that's confidential there will be the date of birth. Right? What else is listed on there?
Their mailing address.
Oh, the address is not
But-
under confidentiality laws. I don't think the address is.
Yes,
The law says if you have 3 pieces of information, all in one location, that is considered personal information. So you have the date of birth, the address, and
The name, yeah.
and we know that some of the addresses, they get home delivery, so it's actually their home address.
So why do we, so why is it there? If it's, why is it there? Why do we expose it if there's a law that says it's confidential?
There's a law that says it's required for us to put it outside the polling room so that they'll know which is the correct precinct for the voter. And we've addressed that before.
Yeah.
The way it cost a lot of money, because with the 60-some thousand, we have to print all the names and deliver it to each polling site. So that too costs a lot of money. Hard print.
Yeah, that's a dilemma.
Mr. Legal Counsel, can I just stop doing it?
well, the problem is the personal information, the breach of, is under the criminal statute. So that's more,
Serious.
that's going to cause more liability to you than not doing it. Right? So if you just put the name outside, that's fine, but you need to remove, because that's not considered personal information, just the name. But if you put those pieces of information together, all together in one document, then that's considered personal information.
So you'll have a list that has all the information for the inside when they sign, and the outside is just the name. So you're going to have produce two different reports.
One inside is under the control of the precinct
Yeah,
officials.
precinct.
The one outside,
Right.
nobody, everybody.
I mean, I've seen people actually take pictures of that outside. I don't know for what purpose, but,
To complain to us. We get the calls.
no, in previous election, not just this
Oh, okay.
election. But that's something that we'll need to address for the next election. But I think the recommendation by Vince kind of makes sense, just the names outside,
Yeah.
and everything else redact the inside.
And I can do that for the 26th. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And explain to her there's a conflict.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Orsini?
So Vince, would we need to amend the law to just have it just the names on the roster outside the doors? Okay. Okay, thank you.
To cover. Okay, monthly voter?
That's on page 14. We're still growing, but we will go back down once we purge. And most of it, we're at 62,546. Most of them are from motor voter. Mhm. The motor voter report is, yeah. So So the senator will probably ask about motor voter as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's another dilemma is we can register, we have high registration, but very low turnout, which doesn't make sense. High registration should result in high turnout. So we need to address that with,
I think we have we don't have a final number, but we have a close to final number of the failed to vote, and most of them are motor voter.
yeah.
Maria, can I ask a real quick question? If you were to take out the
Motor voter.
motor voter data and then analyze the total votes registered and total votes cast, would our percentage of,
Be higher?
Be very nice.
right? So
Yeah.
obviously, the data is skewed because of motor voter is what I'm getting at. And I think we need to address that because we're not giving the public a clear picture of our voter turnout. Guam usually has a high voter turnout, but because of motor voter, it shows us at kind of like at the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, I think the issue with motor voter is an effective tool to register people automatically, but the challenge is, do they know they're registered, right? And do they show up to register? I remember the late Commissioner Ken Paris wanted an analysis on how many motor voter people that register actually show up to vote.
Prepare that number, so we're close to final about that number.
Yeah, because then that would be,
I think more accurately is if we could look at each individual voter and look at their history of voting.
We'll check.
Yeah, because if you could look over, a time period, voting in the primary and the general election from year to year on the individual voter, that would give you a really clear picture on your actual voter turnout.
So I think the motor voter was to make it easy for our islanders to register to vote. But with online voter registration, it's really easy. So if they have a current driver's license or a current Guam ID, that the number that we're getting out for online voter registration keeps growing. And as it gets closer to election, that number grows by a lot.
My other concern is the amount of resources involved in motor voter from the Guam Election Commission side, from the Department of Revenue and Taxation side. I mean, if you were to add up all that man hours and then you look at the results, we're not getting the value for the money that the taxpayers are being billed for this.
On a daily basis, we have 4 FTEs working on just motor voter.
Absolutely, and that's on our side, but then you look at the Guam.
DMV.
Yeah, DMV, probably just as much, if not more.
yeah. Well, it's going to be a challenge. I mean, we're down to 40, what's the turnout this last election, 48%, 43? I know it's in the 40s. We don't want to drop it in the 2026 election to 30.
Right.
So we have to fix what we need to fix on the motor voter and then the turnout.
While the intent is good, and we all applaud the intent of the legislation, the results tell a different story.
So the history of that too is that at the same time, almost about the same time, they passed, the law was changed so that they did not require when you're registering, they don't require you to prove your citizenship. Yeah, that was changed too, almost at the same time.
Just a federal?
No,
And
that
a
was
local?
us. Local.
I know, but it emulated from a federal law that doesn't require you to prove your citizenship when you're registering.
If I remember correctly, sir, it was just because, for the ease of registration here. The federal, the National Voter Registration Act does not apply to the territories, and that's, I think, where they say don't require that kind of stuff.
Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment here? I was thinking back that ever since we started with this motor vehicle, whatever it is to register to vote, right? My concern is how many of these people even come and vote? And that's why our number is very low. Now, I remember back in the old days, we don't have all this, but the turnout was pretty high. So I will venture this, that no matter what, our voter turnout will still be low, because a lot of these people, when they go in there, because they just mark that they want to register and all that, but then do they come out and vote? And I don't know whose idea was that make that into a reality for them to register, because first of all, in the old days, you come and register at the Guam Election Commission. I don't think we have an online registration at the time, and then the voters turnout was pretty high. Now we have all this easy access, and yet our turnout is very low. So it's not compatible, you know what I'm trying to say here? No matter what, we're still gonna have a low turnout. So we need to revisit and see what we can rectify and how we can get our voter
Does the commission
high.
send a letter to these voters, the motor voters, that they're now registered and,
Oh, that's expensive too.
yeah?
Yeah, once we register them, we send them a letter. And so, it seems like everybody has email now, and it's required on the motor voter, on the application for Guam driver's license and
Yeah.
Guam ID. So we can simply just send them an email and get confirmation from them that they received the email.
I'm sure it's going to be a topic with your oversight chair when you meet, right? Why is such low turnout and high registration?
Mr. Chairman, not to belabor the issue, but when you're also looking at the 11,930 people that were purged, I have a sneaky suspicion that the majority of these individuals are because of motor voter.
Yeah,
And
and they didn't
so
vote in either
The
consequence.
amount of cost, again, for individual letters to be written, and, the manpower required to make this thing happen, it just has this domino effect. It's a vicious cycle. And again, you're expending a lot of effort for very, very small amount of benefit and a lot of cost to the taxpayer.
Yeah, I think she'll be, who's the oversight chair? Senator Tadakwe, right? Will be interested in the unintended consequence of the law, so,
But I
Okay.
think the data speaks for itself.
yeah.
If you look at how many people were purging, if you look at how much staff we're utilizing, you look at the numbers for voter turnout, the low numbers, yeah, I think the data is very clear that this program
Yeah.
is not working the way it was intended to work.
At least for turnout,
For turnout, absolutely,
What a turnout,
Yeah.
yeah.
yeah. Maria mentioned that we have the ability to register people online. I think if you look at the data on the number of people who vote online and actually go to the voting polls, that I think
probably higher, yeah.
it shows a much more significant number of people that are involved in the voting process as opposed to the motor voter.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that motor voter? Otherwise, that's the same with item C, right, the online? We already talked about the online voting.
The online is, I think it's efficient and effective
Yeah.
in terms of it's easy for our folks to register online if they have a current driver's license and a current Guam ID. And so what we would do to validate that registration is we're hooked up to DMV, so we can get that information from them.
And just one more thing to add to that, we also have voter registrars. So they're actively involved at the village levels, registering people to vote. And again, that's, shown its worth for every election. So when you combine the number of voter registers, the ability to vote online, I think it really outweighs the motor voter initiative.
And we also encourage our mayors to have voter registrars in their offices.
Yeah, and all mayors normally take advantage of that
Yes.
as well for their village residents.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge because you could have high registration, meaning they're interested in voting, but they don't turn out for whatever the reason. And that's something that the stakeholders, the parties, the campaigns, the election commission, before it gets to 10% turnout, where 10% of the population are actually electing our leaders.
Correct.
You're down to 40 now. And it doesn't matter if it's a gubernatorial year or a non-gubernatorial. We saw in the gubernatorial year it was only 58% or 53%. Yeah, so, but good topic issue to bring up to our oversight and kind of work together as to how to resolve that issue. Okay, item D, the monthly financial report.
We're doing okay, sir, and we have on the side a updated financial report. We know that it's not as accurate as we want it to be. We continue to work with DOA with that transition since April of 2024. But we check all the time for that. With regard to the U.S. Election Assistance Commission grant, we haven't heard about a fiscal year 25 award, but in checking with our congressman, it sounds like it's going to come. So we normally get $200,000 from them annually.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Item E, you covered that already, right?
Yes.
Okay, item F, election campaign contribution.
So at the last meeting, I was supposed to write letters to our folks that didn't submit their final general election report. Well, Helen, Anna, and Brianna did a really good job, and we only wrote one letter. So everybody else submitted. Supplemental reports were due Friday, so we're reviewing them and making sure that supplemental reports are due if their final report didn't show a zero balance. So if they show a deficit or a surplus, a supplemental report was due Friday. So we'll report on that at the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, let's move to old business.
Mr. Chairman, so the complainant, we emailed her twice, and apparently she's still off island.
Okay, this is on the general election administrative complaint for the Hagåtña voter registration issue, right? So we'll table that. Okay. Campaign Finance Committee?
So I'm tasking the staff who's in charge, who works on the campaign finance, to prepare some documents for the Campaign Finance Committee. Our Campaign Finance Committee, Commissioner Pat Seville, yourself, and Commissioner Rick Orsini. So December and January are a hard month because of the travel. So we will call you for February.
Okay.
Anna's in charge of campaign finance, and she's letting me know that February will be good, and we will call you for a meeting of the subcommittee.
Okay.
Yes.
Item C, we'll cover that in executive session, so we'll go to item D.
So we have committed to update our election manual. I'd like to form a committee of commissioners to work on the election manual, which will have to go through the AAA process. And the election manual, we're required to have an election manual for every precinct. So now's a good time to start working on the update.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll compose a committee of each party, right? Including the independent member? Yeah, so any volunteers for the, one is already given, but this is to update the election manual. So we have a start, we just need to update it.
I think I'll take it.
Revise.
I'll volunteer.
When are we looking at starting this?
Sir,
Yeah.
even as soon as February.
So we're supposed to be done yesterday, not today, right?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no.
no.
We,
In time for the next
yeah,
election,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
2026.
And we have really good legal counsel. He'll guide us through the whole process.
So how many do you need? How many members do you
One
need?
from
Three.
each,
Three.
right?
Mr. Chair, or volunteer?
So Commissioner Orsini, volunteer for the Democratic Party, and Commissioner Benny Penala for the Republican Party, and then, of course, we have Commissioner Pat Seville volunteering for the Independent. That would be the election update, election manual update. Okay, let's go to item E, the Council on Government Ethics Annual Conference. You want to report on that?
Yeah, so Vince, Anna and I attended, and we work closely with the Hawaii Ethics Commission. They're upgrading their software, and so they're willing to share, and we're excited to get it. We're excited to share with them. This would mean that the commission would decide if these things will be online, and will the campaign finance reports be available online, so it's easier for everybody to look at.
Okay. Question, Commissioner Orsini?
What's the system, Maria? What's the system?
Currently, it's a paper thing, and so what we do, it would, the campaign finance, what?
Yeah,
It's custom, in-house.
by Hawaii.
Actually, they've contracted somebody from Colorado, I believe. Yeah, and they're willing to share.
And it's just a campaign finance system?
That's all, yeah.
So don't we normally post those reports? Or I've seen it before, where we post it on the GEC website.
No, in the past, the commission has said no to
But it did
posting.
before, because I've seen it before. I don't know how
Okay.
many years ago.
Yeah, so,
And then it was never there again.
yeah, so I know during my time, I had asked if we should post it, and the answer then was no. I think one of the challenges we have with these campaign finance reports is if we post it as soon as it's submitted, it could be pretty inaccurate. And so because of the scheduling of when they're filing, we cannot look at it until after the election. So that's a challenge that we have. But we've been asking to change the scheduling of filings, but in our recommendations, but the legislature hasn't said yes.
I mean, the federal election reports are posted, and most states, I personally think it should be posted. Because they file these, we're the custodian of these reports, but who looks at the accuracy of the reports besides the staff? I mean, and then the enforcement of whether you over-contributed or any of those, right?
So that, we'll take a look at it with the campaign finance
Yeah.
subcommittee.
Okay. Item F, Administrative Voting Survey.
This has been published and it's on the EAC website. It's a survey of elections administration for all the 50 states, Washington DC, and all the territories. So it's on their website. We do this every election cycle.
Okay, any questions?
Just one, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry that I just now asking this question. Maria, on this last election, do we have any outstanding balance that we haven't paid out?
I was talking for the general election, there are, but the reason why they're outstanding is because we haven't received the invoices.
So what's the problem?
Our vendors, I think most of them are government vendors that haven't submitted their invoices. I don't know if GPD already submitted theirs. I know UOG already submitted their invoices. So in order for us to pay them, they have to submit their invoices. So it's GPD and
DOE?
and DOE. DOE
DOE.
has not even submitted, I
Yeah.
believe, the primary election.
Yeah.
But we have the funding for those, right?
Yes,
Encumbered.
yes, we're just waiting for the
I,
invoices.
I just don't want to go overlap, for the next one, this one transfer, like the previous one.
Yeah.
Maybe you can keep us posted on that? Thank you.
Any further old business? Okay, so we're going to recess and go into executive session to discuss the executive director's performance evaluation, and then we'll reconvene back and continue with new business and the rest of the agenda. There's 6 of us, 6 commissioners present, so Commissioner Joe Meno is not present, but he will be submitting his evaluation as well. Okay, so Maria and company Okay, we are reconvening this meeting of the Guam Election Commission. We completed our first session of the executive session, and what we've decided to do is, if the commission can provide us last year's or the last evaluation. Was that 23? I believe it was 23. For our review, just to be able to gauge that evaluation to what we're going to be doing, and we'll convene again. So moving on to new business.
We already took care of the budget. And then the next one is the meeting, the winter meeting of the National Association of State Election Directors. I normally attend on the off year the summer meeting. I don't attend the winter meeting, but I'm really interested in attending the winter meeting because the main agenda is the 2024 elections. So that's February 2nd to the 5th in Washington, D.C. And so what I'm going to do is piggyback with meeting the EAC and hopefully also attend the National Association of Secretaries of State. I'm hoping to be a proxy because on Guam, our Secretary of State is designated as the Lieutenant Governor, Josh Tenori. I asked him if he was going, and he said he's going to find out what the process is for me to be the proxy. And on both meetings, the central agenda item is the 2024 elections. So the national people will be talking about what happened throughout the election across the states.
Any questions, comments on that? Is there, who's paying for this trip?
We have federal dollars from the,
Federal.
yeah, we use the federal money.
Okay. Any questions, comments? We'll go to legal counsel's report. No. Okay. Okay, moving on then to public comment. Yeah, she's not here. Okay, next meeting, February.
February 20,
February 20th. February 20th, anybody going to be off island? Kind of hard to project out, but that's usually the Thursday, the
Third
third.
Thursday,
right,
huh?
Third Thursday.
but we will be calling for the subcommittees to meet before the 20th.
Yeah, the subcommittees,
The
the campaign
subcommittees, there are
finance.
two subcommittees, okay?
There's two, right? The
Yes.
modern,
Election manual and,
campaign finance. Okay, so the next meeting will be Thursday, February 20th at 5:30 here at the Guam Election Commission Conference Room. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Commissioner Gamatau, second? Second by Commissioner Seville. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, meeting is adjourned. It is 6:58 PM.